Foreign diplomacy was at top of mind during President Trump's summit in China. He is back this morning after meeting with President Xi Jinping. The trip comes as a move to strengthen U.S.-Chinese relations, as well as talks about the war in Iran and Taiwan. Here this morning to give us a closer insight into this historic trip is Denis Simon, a senior research fellow in the Quincy Institute's East Asia program. Good morning to you. Thanks for taking the time with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
President Trump and President Xi are both calling this summit a new beginning. From your perspective, what are the key takeaways here from this visit?
Well, I think one of the main things that happened was that President Xi formulated what might be called a new overarching principle. That principle is called constructive strategic stability. And what that basically means is that both leaders can agree that even though the relationship still will be characterized by rivalry and competition, that neither one will allow the relationship to spin out of control. They won't let problems fester, and they will try to bring some degree of normalization to the interaction, whether it be trade issues or political issues, or whatever may be the case. I think the Chinese are very, very anxious to get out from this tit-for-tat situation where they're each, bashing each other in response to new sanctions or new restrictions and other kinds of control. So I think the meeting on the whole was very positive.
Trade, we know, as you mentioned, was a major focus, including reported deals on agriculture, aircraft, energy. Although the details still seem to be a little unclear, how significant are some of these agreements, though, in terms of reshaping this relationship, as you mentioned?
Well, probably the most important thing was the announcement about China's decision, or at least apparent decision, to purchase 200 Boeing aircraft. Now, before Trump got to Beijing, there were rumors that they may buy as many as 500 aircraft. So that was a little bit disappointing. But on the other hand, Boeing had not had any major aircraft sales to China for a long time. So this was a very, very positive step. It seems that they reached agreement also on establishing two things. One, a board of trade, and second, a board of investment. And this is hoping to institutionalize the relationship so that they can have a platform to negotiate future agreements. And then finally, I think that they made progress in the area of agriculture. There was some word that the Chinese will increase imports of American corn, American soybeans, and that the relationship will be such that the trade deficit, to ameliorate that somewhat, the Chinese will continue to buy more goods from the United States to create a more closer trade balance with the two countries.
And before we let you go, I want to ask about Taiwan, because it certainly remains the biggest unresolved point here. What do you make of President Trump essentially refusing to clearly state how the U.S. would respond in a conflict and really not addressing Taiwan until being back here in the U.S.?
Yes, I think that that's a little bit of a difficult area. President Xi, in fact, the first thing he said out of the gate was the central issue between the U.S. and China was around Taiwan, and that if that issue wasn't handled properly, it could have a negative impact on the overall relationship. So the fact that President Trump did not have a concrete response means that there's still a lot of problems lurking in the background, and that he's going to have to make some decisions, particularly over this planned arms sales, which could amount to as much as 30 billion US dollars. So there's a lot at stake here, but this just isn't about a commercial transaction. This is about a critical issue in the bilateral relationship that could dismantle much of it if it's not handled properly.
All right. Denis Simon with the Quincy Institute. We appreciate your insight this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.